Welcome to the True Man Podcast. This is an invitation to radical reconstruction of a man's masculine heart and soul and a place of safe community where we dare to ask questions deep seated inside a man and explore ways to help you become a better man, a better son, a better dad, and a better spouse. Isn't that what you're looking for? Don't you want to be the very, very best that you can be? Well, that's what we help you do here in the True Man community. Now, before we jump in too far, I just want to say my heart, my thoughts are with everybody in the United States military and their families that are help keeping the world safe and rid it of evil over in Iran. I wish we didn't have to do these things, but evil exists in the world, and where it does, we've got to shine a light. So, prayers out to our American military. Boy, we just hope that everyone stays safe and that this can end soon. Now, with that, I just want to wish you well again. I hope you're having a great week. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the True Man podcast. Greatly appreciate that. And if you're getting value from this and you think it's something that somebody else might want to hear or see, because you can do both, right? If you go out to YouTube at True Man Podcast, you can catch the video. And, if you're listening to this on your phone right now, which most are, the statistics show me that, you can forward this podcast to a buddy or a friend. And maybe it's something that you can introduce to your men's small group topically. Pick a topic. This is the 229th episode of the True Man Podcast. Plenty of topics out there to speak on and that you could take to your men's small group. And yet this is another one. So last week on the True Man Podcast, I talked about the name of that podcast was Common Sense, Courage, and a Call Back to God, Family, and Country. Now, we talked about a wide range of things on there. And this week, I really want to narrow that down. So this podcast episode 229, is really around building the family. What I think, one dinner table at a time, one topic at a time. It wasn't the American family built around the dinner table. Sure it was. And it's a critically important piece of the home. So this is what I believe to be true. If we're going to rebuild a nation, it doesn't start with a campaign or a political candidate. Those folks don't always seem to know what's going on right at your kitchen table. And that's where it starts. At a table. At your table. Now, if we want to restore our culture and get it back to God, family, and country, it doesn't start with a microphone. And by microphone, I mean yelling at each other and seeing who can yell the loudest. It starts with a meal. It starts with a meal at your table. Because long before there were governments, policies, elections, and platforms, well, there was family. And long before there were institutions shaping society, well, there was a father and a mother that, by the way, is a man and a woman, that is biblical, sitting at a table with their children. We call that the nuclear family. And so when we talk about rebuilding America, when we talk about restoring values, we talk about strengthening faith, protecting freedom, and saving the next generation. We talk about all those things, but here's the truth I think some people don't want to hear. If your dinner table is empty, well, then your opinion doesn't matter. If your children don't hear your voice, well, the culture is going to replace it. And we see that time and time again. If your family isn't anchored, nothing else you build will stand. So Psalm 127 verse 1 says this: unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Notice it doesn't say nation. It says house because God understands something that we often forget. Nations rise and fall based on the strength of their homes. And homes rise and fall based on the leadership in place in the home. Fathers, that's you. So let's talk about the dinner table as a battlefield. How about that? I bet you didn't see that one coming. You may not think of it that way. You know, it feels ordinary, it feels small, it feels routine, but the dinner table, well, that is where our world views are shaped. It's where children learn to speak, children learn how to listen, children learn to disagree, children learn how to pray, and children learn whether faith is real or just Sunday talk. They're watching. You can't forget that. The battlefield is real. And if you don't shape that space, that table intentionally, well, guess who's going to shape it for you? That's right, our culture and people outside of your dinner table. Is that what you want? You know, our phones will discipline your children, algorithms will teach them, and celebrities, don't even get me started, but they'll define values for your children. And then we wonder, why is the next generation confused? You know, the dinner table is not about food. I mean, well, it is. It's where we eat, but it's not all about food. No, really what it's about is formation of your family. Think of it that way. So let me tell you something that really kind of hits me hard. There was a season of my life when I was busy, not lazy, not irresponsible, busy. And I don't even like that term busy. I would prefer productive, but at that point in my life, I would probably call it busy, building, working, providing, planning. I told myself, right, like a lot of people, that it was all for my family. But then one night I sat down at the table and realized something. We were all in the same room, but nobody was really there. Our phones were out. The conversation was shallow. Our schedules were rushed. And I asked myself, if this what providing looks like, what the heck am I actually building here? I realized something quite uncomfortable. I was investing in the future financially, but I wasn't shaping it relationally. And that's on me. You can't outsource spiritual leadership. Doesn't happen. Can't happen. You can't subcontract fatherhood. And you cannot assume that your presence is felt just because your body is in a chair. Doesn't work that way. The dinner table forced me to slow down, to look my family in my eyes, and look my family in the eyes, I should say, to ask better questions, to listen longer, to pray differently. And that shift has really helped me to change everything. And how many of you have gone to a restaurant, you sit down and you look at the family sitting there at the dinner table and nobody's even looking at each other? Their face is glued to the phone. We just cannot have the families we want to have and be present with our families if everybody's buried in their phone. So, men, let me ask you this. When your kids think about home, what do they feel? Do they feel peace or pressure? Do they feel presence or distraction? Do they feel leadership or tension? Do they feel prayer or performance? When your wife thinks about dinner, does she feel supported or alone? If your table could talk, what would it say? Now, those aren't designed to be guilt questions. They're really leadership questions. And Joshua chapter 24, verse 15 says this: As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. How many houses have I been in where that was on the wall? Notice the ownership there. Me and my house. He didn't say, as for the culture, or as for the government, or as for my neighbor. He said, my house. So leadership really starts inside your walls. So let's talk about something I came up here. 3 pillars of a dinner table. If we are going to build the family one dinner table at a time, here are 3 things that I believe need to be present. How about the word presence? Not not partial attention, full presence. You're going to have to put the phone away. I know it. I know. I didn't want to have to go down that road, but we're going to have to do this here. Put the phone away. Turn the TV off. Nothing good on there anyway. It's all negative. Look people square in the eyes. The average American family eats together less than they ever have. So many things going on. And when they do, everybody's distracted. You don't need some elaborate speech. You don't need some elaborate thing going on. You just need consistency. Consistency builds security, and security builds strength. So number 2, conversations. Yeah, I know. You're going to have to talk with each other, not interrogation, conversation. Ask questions that help shape identity. Instead of how was your day, try what challenged you today? What did you learn today? Where did you see God show up? Ask your wife, what went well for you today? How can I support you better this week? Really dig in, ask great questions, because conversation builds connection, and connection builds trust. And of course, trust builds influence. And if your children don't talk to you when they're 10, well, what makes you think they're going to talk to you at 17? Finally, faith. Now, faith must be practiced. It must not be assumed. Pray out loud, even if you stumble, even if it feels awkward, even if you're tired. Deuteronomy 6 says to impress God's commands on your children when you sit at home. That means faith is not a Sunday event. It's a daily rhythm. Short prayer, simple gratitude, scripture discussed naturally, not forced, not preachy, just real. Apply it to everyday living. Your kids, they're not looking for a perfect theologian. Chances are you're not that anyway. I know I'm not. They just need a consistent father. Culture is really formed in those ordinary moments with your family. Now, we keep looking for dramatic solutions to everything, Got to fly in with the bat suit on. We keep looking for massive moments, national shifts that cause change in this country. But culture is really shaped quietly. It's really shaped when a father apologizes he's wrong. A husband honors his wife publicly. A family prays before eating. A son hears his father speak respectfully about the people that he disagrees with. Common sense, you see, is taught in calm repetition. Decency is modeled in ordinary conversation, and character is built in daily rhythm. The dinner table really becomes a training ground. Now, there's something going on in our economy. It's been there for a while. It's the pressure of economics. It's just the reality of the world. It takes two parents to virtually keep things going. And that's difficult on the American family. But let's be honest. We're under pressure as men, as families, as parents. Rising costs, long hours, dual incomes, commutes that last an hour, exhaustion as a result. And it's just too doggone easy to say we don't have time. But here's the reality. If you don't make time for the table, something else will claim your family. Now, it doesn't have to be every night you do this, but it has to be intentional. Even 3 nights a week of protected present dinners can really reshape a household. Now, you can't control inflation. You can't control policy. But you know what you can control? Your table. Your table. And what happens when we get this right? So just imagine this. Children who know how to listen. How about children who know how to articulate thoughts respectfully? Children that know how to pray? How about children that know how to disagree without hatred? How about children that know their father is present? That child grows up steady, and that steady child becomes a steady adult. And steady adults build stable communities. Stable communities build strong nations. And it starts small, doesn't it? But small doesn't mean insignificant. It means foundational. Your table. And let's talk about the man in the chair. I don't know about you, but you know where I sit when I pull up a chair, the head of the table. So let's get direct. If you sit at the head of that table, you set the tone for your home. If you're sarcastic, everyone relaxes into sarcasm. If you're tense, well, everyone feels the tension. If you're distracted, everyone disconnects. And if you're prayerful, peace settles in. You don't need dominance. You need steadiness, strength under control, love under conviction, presence under pressure. Men, that's leadership. So here's a challenge for you this week. Here's what I want you to do. This week, pick 3 nights. Three. Declare them protected dinner nights. What does that look like? Phones off, TV off, be present, ask intentional questions, pray, and then after a week, just ask yourself, did something shift? Because I promise you this, if you commit to do this for 6 months, your home is going to feel a heck of a lot different. Calmer, maybe? How about more connected? More grounded? Are you looking for any of those things? And the atmosphere is going to impact everything else in your life. So here's the bigger vision. If we want a revival in this country, a lot of people talk about revivals. If we want restoration, if we want a culture shift, then we need to build families. One table at a time. Now, none of this maybe sounds flashy. Probably not going to go viral. It won't trend. But it will transform. God, family, and country in that order. And family is built in chairs around wood tables. You can have a glass table, maybe a metal one if you want. We have a variety these days, but we're doing this in eye contact. We're doing this in prayer, in listening, in discipline, in laughter. Got to have a good time, and in forgiveness. The dinner table is not small. It is a very sacred place. So here's some final questions for you. When your children are grown, what will they remember? Your schedule or your presence? Your stress or your steadiness? Your frustration about the culture or your leadership inside the home? I really believe this. The future of this country will not be rebuilt by louder arguments, online or otherwise. It will be rebuilt by fathers who lead quietly and consistently. So tonight, pull up a chair, look your family in the eyes, and start building one dinner table at a time. Well, thank you for listening to this. I really think this is important, and you're going to hear me talk a lot more about God, family, and country, really getting back to American values. We've drifted, friends. We're all so, quote unquote, busy that we're forgetting about what really matters. And it starts to show up in big, big ways. At the end of your life, y'all want to be trading stories about game night around the table, about that one dinner when the milk went flying and went all over the house, whatever the case may be. But that American family is, and always will be built around the American table. Hey, if you'd like to reach out to me and talk more about this, you can always drop me an email at mike@truemanlifecoaching.com. Check out my website, truemanlifecoaching.com. It has all the latest information on it. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave me a great review on your favorite podcast channel. Well, until next week, go out, have dinner with your family tonight around the table, and make this your best dinner ever. God bless you, and thanks for listening.